Tongue piercings, pros and cons by a piercer. That's me. Coming up right now, episode number 21. So stick around. For those that are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I'm the owner and operator of the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you at a level of expertise of somebody who has done this piercing numerous times, has helped people through the process of healing them, and actually has one myself. What we're going to do is we're going to go through 5 advantages or pros, 5 disadvantages or cons, and help you make an educated decision on whether or not a tongue piercing is the right choice for you. So we're going to start out with the pros, the advantages. This piercing is one of the fastest healing piercings that you can get, usually healing out anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4, varies from person to person, but it is one of the fastest healing piercings that you can get done. Number 2, has a long history of healing with little or no issue at all, partly because of that short healing period. Usually, you don't have a lot of opportunity to screw it up, and as long as it was done and performed correctly the first time, you should be able to wear that for the rest of your life. Number 3, can make some activities a little bit more interesting. When I say that, it's not going to make you the Don Juan or what would be the female? The Donnie Juan. Immediately, if you don't have the skill there to begin with, it probably really isn't going to change much, but it can make it a little bit more interesting, maybe just in your partner's mind, but it makes it fun. It's interesting, it's different. Number 4, can be hidden to a degree. This piercing, unless a person is taller than you or looking down on you, or you're one of those people that talks with your mouth wide open all the time and tends to play with the piercing all the time, most people will not notice the piercing initially. It is one of those ones that you can kind of hide a little bit. There are some things in the market that are more flush, jewelry that's more flush tone colored, and even some of the plastic or acrylic ones that are, they have like a texture to them that kind of is similar to a tongue. These call them no-see-me's. I don't know if they still make that brand or not. But anyway, you can usually hide this piercing from most people for a long period of time without them knowing it, as long as you don't constantly play with it. This piercing, number 5, is not going to affect things as much as other piercings are. It's not going to affect sleep. It's not going to affect your ability to compete. You're not going to have a wardrobe change. You're not going to have to maybe abstain from certain activities. Well, there are some you need to. But it's not going to be as intrusive as, say, a set of nipple piercings or an ear piercing or a nostril piercing, where you really have to make some serious lifestyle changes. Swimming, it's not going to affect that as much. That's another thing it doesn't affect as much. So now let's get on to the cons, the disadvantages. Number 1, this piercing is known to and can cause enamel erosion, gum erosion, and softening of the bones inside your mouth. Position on this piercing is very important. If you don't have a skilled piercer that knows where the right spot's going to be and understands the anatomy of the mouth, this can cause a lot of issues. Also, you want to have a piece of jewelry in there that's properly sized to your mouth, opposed to just something you bought off the rack. Anytime that you start to notice any type of gum erosion, or you catch it on your teeth all the time, it might be a good idea to just abandon the piercing, unless you want to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars in dental care. Number 2, it really affects, especially for primarily for that first couple weeks, affects speech and eating. You kind of, especially during the swelling stage, which I'm going to get into here in a little bit, you're kind of on a soft food diet. You're kind of limited with what type of foods you can get or eat, how spicy they are, etc. People will notice restrictions to the tongue during that swelling period, where people often talk with a lisp. The S's are maybe a little bit more slurred. Maybe they have problems with F's and TH's. It is a common thing. So if you do work professionally and your voice is part of your profession, you want to kind of consider taking a break of at least a couple of weeks before you go right back in and do it again. Just to give your tongue, give it a little time to adapt to it. Of course, if you work in the food industry and you're a chef and you have to taste things every day, because you shouldn't be sending things out to the table without tasting them, then you may want to consider getting this piercing done when you can take a break from work. Number 3, this piercing cannot be removed for any extended period of time. You generate tissue very rapidly in the mouth. That advantage, that number one advantage, that number one pro of how fast they heal, it works to your disadvantage after the fact because it will close just as quickly. Sometimes even faster. I've had clients that have had this piercing for 15, 20 years, took them out for, a 4-hour surgery and had problems getting it back in. So keep that in mind. This is one of those piercings where once you put the jewelry in, you definitely want to leave something in it. Swelling. Possibly the worst part of the whole experience of getting this tongue pierced. Usually the swelling will hit the day after the piercing is done, first thing in the morning. It'll swell up sometimes to 3 times its normal size. It can be very uncomfortable. And because of that, you're going to have to limit your intake of tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, hot and spicy foods, things that are extremely warm in temperature, or anything that may agitate your mouth. Things like tomato-based stuff and citrus-based products, things that have a lot of acidity to them. Also, you want to stay away from salty foods and drinks that have a lot of sodium in them. All those things will lead to more swelling, and we'll get a little bit more into combating swelling when we get into the consultation part. Number 5, the last one in the disadvantages, and then we'll move on to the consultation. Number 5 is one of those things where you cannot, you really have to check the balls on our ends of the barbell on a regular basis. They can come unscrewed on their own. It's my experience as someone who has passed 2 of them on 2 separate occasions. They usually fall out or begin to unscrew and then fall off right when you have a mouthful of something very complicated. Me, the first time it was a Reuben. Second time, I can't even remember what was in my mouth at the time. I want to say pizza. Where you have like all these textures and stuff, and next thing you know, it's down the back of your throat. They're not the best thing to go for your digestive tract, especially your lower intestine, because internally threaded, which is your best option, does have a piece of threading off of it. It can latch or connect or get caught in the digestive tract, which could be a serious health issue. So you do have to check the balls and tighten them on a regular basis for the lifetime of the piercing. All right, this is the part where I go through the consultation. What I would normally say to a client if they came in and said, hey, I want to get my tongue pierced, I would say this to them. Average healing time is roughly anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, during which time I'm going to suggest rinsing 3 to 4 times with Biotene antiseptic mouthwash or an alcohol-free mouthwash. That does not mean Listerine. Do not use Listerine. If you are using Listerine, stop it. The reason why is because Listerine is far too harsh and it will probably lead to thrush. If you don't know what thrush is, look it up. It's this cottage cheese looking substance, kind of collects on the tongue, can have a burning sensation and itching sensation, and a very distinct odor. It's equivalent to having a yeast infection in your mouth caused by a bacterial imbalance. So, Biotene antiseptic mouthwash, and then for the same reason, I do not suggest exceeding roughly 3 to 4 times a day with the Biotene mouthwash. Also, I suggest eating 2 to 3 cartons of yogurt a day because Aphanopoulos will help kind of keep things in balance. Plus, it's good for you. It's good for your GI tract. You should be eating yogurt every day anyway. And it's easy to eat. And I forgot to turn the computer sound down. But we'll get that in post. Or we won't. You never know. Just depends on my mood. Anyway, the other thing is warm saltwater rinses for about 2 to 3 minutes twice daily with warm water and sea salt throughout the healing period. Swelling, absolutely the worst part of it. The swelling will occur usually the day after the piercing. You want to cut down your intake of tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, hot and spicy foods, things that are extremely warm in temperature, or anything that agitates your mouth. Think back to when the last time was you bit your tongue or the side of your mouth and what hurt to eat. For example, things that are tomato-based because they're very acidic. The same thing goes for lemonade or orange juice, or sour apples, candy or lemon drops. If it hurts to adjust it, you probably should stop. Also, other things to cut down on. You want to pretty much be on a soft food diet. That means things like sports shakes, nutritional shakes, baby food, applesauce, ice cream shakes, yogurt, smoothies, pretty much anything you can spoon into your mouth and not have to chew a lot. The more simple it is, the better off you are. Another thing to cut down on swelling is you want to cut down on the amount of playing with the piercing and talking. The more it is two muscles, and the more you move those muscles, the more they swell. So if you can take that time and not talk a lot and don't play with the piercing, even though it seems instinctive to do that, you're going to see less swelling. The other thing is stay well hydrated. You usually see the swelling, the worst of it, first thing in the morning because your body dehydrates at night. If you drink a couple of glasses of water throughout the night, it's going to help with the swelling. Also, gently sucking on ice chips for that first 24 to 28 hours will help. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I'm not a medical professional. And I don't play one on TV. Over-the-counter anti-inflammatories can be helpful. I just can't tell you to use them. I don't feel comfortable using them because I don't know your medical history. If you have had any conflicts medical-wise with those, consult your physician before taking them. And always read the back of medication to look at the warning signs. But an anti-inflammatory over-the-counter can help somewhat. Now that we've gone through swelling, let's move on to jewelry. When we pierce a tongue, we pierce with a piece of jewelry that is way too long to allow for the swelling. Well, it's not way too long. It's usually 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 of an inch longer than needed. I suggest downsizing to a shorter barbell in roughly a week to 10 days. The reason being is that we want to limit the risk of enamel erosion, gum erosion, and softening of the bones inside your mouth, which is a risk regardless if you downsize or not. We position a piercing in the mouth to try to eliminate this, but even in the best situations, it is always possible. So, I'm going to suggest you downsize in roughly a week to 10 days to a shorter barbell, and that you come in and let me do it. Professionally, let a professional change the jewelry. And the reason being is they can be a little tricky. Now, a lot of places will say, no, you need to leave that jewelry in for 8 weeks, or I had somebody come in the other day that said they were told to leave it in for 4 months. There is no reason to leave that longer barbell in there once the swelling has subsided. All it's going to do is increase the likelihood of enamel erosion, gum erosion, and softening of the bones inside your mouth. You can greatly reduce it by going to a shorter barbell. Plus, it's going to make your life a lot better. It makes eating and talking and all that fun stuff we like to do with our tongue a lot easier. Now, it seems like a very small amount, but in your mouth, 1/8 of an inch is freaking huge. It makes a huge difference. And I said huge difference. Of course, in case you didn't catch that, the 3 major risks of tongue piercings is enamel erosion, gum erosion, and softening of the bones inside your mouth. As far as materials, I suggest implant-grade surgical stainless steel, titanium, 14-karat solid gold, not plated or filled. Implant-grade dental acrylic to a degree. I can probably do a whole video on why I don't like acrylics. Maybe that'll be one in the future, but the thing with acrylics is they have to be changed on a regular basis. Now let's move on to cross-contamination prevention, the do-nots, opposed to the do's. No deep mouth kissing, oral contact, or sexual contact for a minimum of 8 weeks. You are more susceptible to STDs during oral sex. So if you've switched partners, practice safe sex the way you're supposed to. Barrier until tested. Also, wash your hands before handling the jewelry. Avoid sticking unclean objects in your mouth, like pen caps, toothpicks, other people's fingers. I don't know. Anything that doesn't belong in there, do not put it in there. Do not share food items, utensils, plates, silverware, cups with anyone else while it is healing. Make sure that your own utensils, plates, dishes, everything is cleaned on a regular basis. Also, I would suggest starting with a fresh toothbrush, and it's a good idea that, especially if you're storing it in the bathroom, and it's a good idea to store them in an airtight container, unless you like fecal matter in your mouth. In conclusion, this piercing is a quick heal. Requires some changes in diets and some adaptation for about a week. It can be a complete and utter miserable existence. You want to cut down the amount of talking you're doing. It's a good piercing to do on a 3-day weekend when you have time to just sit around the house and not say anything. And once it heals, you always have to be cautious that it can cause damage to your teeth and gums. Keep a lookout for those issues and remove the jewelry and abandon the piercing if they start to happen. Well, that's it. That's all I have to say on this particular subject, tongue piercings. If you feel like there's something I didn't cover or you have something to add to the conversation, please leave a comment. We like to talk about these things, and if you can teach me something, maybe another hint, maybe another trick, or teach it to those other people out there, those lovely people in the YouTube dark that are watching out there in the darkness. Yeah, get that reference? Sunset Boulevard, anyone? Gloria Swanson? Anyway, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you would love to see more of these in the future on body piercing and tattooing and etc., then hit the subscription and hit that notification bell, because that way you'll be notified every time we post something. We post videos roughly about 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week, and we continue to plan on doing that. Till next time, hope all your piercings heal well and easy, without any hassles or problems. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future.